Let's get into it. Let's first talk about this first layer here. It's 4PL. Stands for Fourth Party Logistics. Now, a 4PL is often called a lead logistics service provider, or an LLP, or simply known as a consultant. Now, they provide a service of being a supply chain integrator. You can kind of think of them as the puppeteer who kind of puts all the puppets together to put on the show and orchestrate a very efficient supply chain. Now, the Council of Supply Chain Management Professionals really defines the 4PL with the following characteristics. It's a separate entity established as a joint venture or a long-term contract between a primary client and a bunch of different service providers. They're the single interface between all of those people. They will manage ideally all aspects of the client's supply chain, managing it from a very high strategic level. It is possible for some 3PLs to become 4PLs or provide some consultancy services. For example, Ceresys is going to provide more of a specialized service, but at times we're going to help consult with our customers and clients on other logistics type service models. And actually, in 1996, about 20 years ago, Accenture trademarked the term 4PL. It's no longer trademarked, but they defined it as a supply chain integrator that assembles and manages the resources, capabilities, and technology of its own organization with those of complementary services from other providers to deliver a comprehensive supply chain solution. So that brings us to the next layer, 3PL. These are often called logistics service providers, or LSPs. As I mentioned, Ceresys is a 3PL because we provide a specialized service. Those services can include transportation management, freight forwarders, warehousing, inventory management, and more. Essentially, underneath the supply chain, there are several different logistics aspects within a supply chain that a third-party logistics company can help. So the Council of Supply Chain Management Professions defines the 3PL as outsourcing all or much of a company's logistics operations to another company. For example, Ceresys will work with a shipper to help arrange transportation through our technology and services, so that way you can get a lower price and you can get more efficiency. Today, every company that offers any of these kinds of specific services is known as a 3PL. Back in the day, this was first introduced with an entity called an IMC, or an intermodal marketing company. And up to that point, contracts between shippers and carriers only involved two people. So when the IMCs came in, they were now a third party to help work out that contract. And in fact, in 2008, legislation was passed to legally define a 3PL, and most 3PLs today have a freight broker license, and they're all over the place, and you've probably heard of 3PL, the most prolific. Now that we've defined 4PL and 3PL, what is a 2PL? You may not have heard about that. That's second party logistics. That means there's a second party involved, and that's just the carrier. Now, the service they're going to provide is transportation only with their trucks for the shipper. So that can happen on a ship, it can happen by rail, it can happen with a truck, where we play in Ceresys. And the last level is the 1PL. So that's just one party. That's the shipper itself. And of course, their service is manufacturing, distribution, or retail. So those are all the layers of logistics. The shipper can do it all in-house. That's one party. The carrier involved, the shipper procures the carrier. That's the second party, or 2PL. A 3PL will help the shipper arrange a carrier, so there's now three parties. And a 4PL is going to strategically work with several 3PLs to put all of those together. So those are all of the layers of logistics. So now that you're educated, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode.